Sometimes when watching a movie, we can just tell that a character is going to die. But what's even better is when that character themselves know that they're dead meat. And this happens in 2023's Wrath of Becky. Now, this movie tells the story of Becky, who was a skilled assassin 2 years after she escaped a violent attack on her family. The 16-year-old Becky attempts to rebuild her life in the care of an older woman, a kindred spirit named Elena. However, when a violent group known as the Noblemen break into their home, attack them, and take their beloved dog, Becky must return to her old ways to protect herself and her loved ones. Now, in short, this movie is basically Becky versus the Proud Boys. And if you don't know who the Proud Boys are, just Google the Proud Boys January 6th and you'll know the perception behind these guys. But the scene in question revolves around the idea that the noblemen, like the Proud Boys, are viewed as mega racist. Now, to some people, they're perceived as neo-Nazis. So once Becky had turned the tables on one of the guys, one of the noblemen, he's all maimed and starts crawling away. Then he starts to beg for his life. But as Becky is stalking him and ready to kill him with her machete, he turns to her one last time and pleads for his life because he said he's a family man. And he even insists that, he has a son. So Becky reconsiders, something she rarely does. So she asks the guy, what's his son's name? Now, that's a pretty simple and basic question. It shouldn't be a problem. But the guy just says to himself the F word out loud. Now, I had no idea that he was a dead man. But at that moment, he knew the answer to that question would definitely get him killed. So he just continues to hesitate. But Becky presses him on his son's name. But he reluctantly and slowly says Adolf. And Becky screams, "Are you effing kidding me?" She then takes her machete and starts to chop his body up, and blood just starts to splatter everywhere. And this is why this movie is one of my favorite kills of the movie. But that also brings us to the kill of the week. Now, kill of the week comes from the same movie, 2023's Wrath of Becky. But Becky, who is now 16, is living with an older woman who becomes her best friend and her dog. Some Proud Boys knockoffs called the Noblemen kills her best friend and steals her dog, and this makes Becky go back to her old habits. We understand that. However, the kill of the week occurs when Becky corners one of the Noblemen who is actually searching for her, trying to kill her. So she manages to get the upper hand on this guy. In the next scene, we see him outside of his comrade's door with a grenade duct taped to his mouth, and he's tied up, so he can't say anything, he can't move, he's just there. However, there's a string connected to the ring of the pin to the grenade, and it's extended to the doorknob of the house. So, when Becky rings the doorbell, whoever opens the door will detonate the grenade in the guy's mouth, thus setting off an explosion. And that's exactly what happens. The guy opens the door. The tied up comrade can't talk or warn him. All he can do is just make noises and plead, not to open the door. So he's trying his best to warn the guy, don't do it. Don't open the door. But as you know, it's too late. The guy opens the door and triggers the grenade. And just what you expect to happen happens. The guy's head's exploding to a million pieces and blood is splattered everywhere. But the thing that sells this kill is sort of a callback to the video game Mortal Kombat. We see the dead nobleman's head half blown off, and the only portion that's visible is like his bottom jaw. And you can see like the bottom row of his teeth, and it's pretty gory and gruesome. But that one kill sets off a series of events throughout the runtime of this movie. Plus, it lets the leader of the noblemen understand that this is no ordinary teenager. They are dealing with someone who is proficient at killing in the most heinous way possible. I mean, the kills in this movie are all top notch. Understand that. And I appreciate the various ways they give Becky the character to dispose of her enemies. Now, even though this stood out the most, there are still some others that I really haven't disclosed. So, have you seen Wrath of Becky? And did you notice the obvious Proud Boys reference? Also, what was your favorite kill in the movie? So let us know in the comments, because we really like to know. And until next time, when CEDtalks horror.